record.
Okay.
And then I'm going to hit record here. So,
Oh. Wow.
I'm here with Barbara.
This is something
So
else.
pronounce your last name for me so I can pronounce it.
Terrelonge.
I had it right, Terrelonge. Who I had the pleasure of interviewing for my class project, for my Women's Leadership and Contemporary Social and Political Movements class. That's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
But we're just talking about extraordinary women, unsung heroes even, and the movements that they've been a part of, and how they impacted the lives of many on the social front, political front, etc. So Barbara was chosen by Professor Mealy, yay for Professor Mealy, as one of the women that won a list for us to interview. And since I was so tied into her position at DC 37 as the Quality of Life Program Director, being a member of DC 37, Local 371, Barbara, you jumped out at me as someone I wanted to interview. So how are you today?
I'm good, thanks.
Good, good. So, like I said, in my class, we discussed a host of women, internationally, domestically, that have pushed for social and political change in their countries and here. So I just have some questions to ask you, kind of related to your work, to the function of your job. First one would be, what is your specific role or responsibility at your organization?
Well, today, as the director of QWL, I'm responsible for all of the quality of work-life committees in every agency.
Okay.
And so at this point, we have 27 agencies that participate. We have over 40 committees. So I am responsible for every month holding committee meetings and meeting with the commissioners, assistant commissioners. Every union in the city participates,
Wow.
not just DC 37. So this is every union. I cover from the nurses, NYSA 1199, Local 3, all of DC 37, 237, 1180, OSA. So I cover every union. So the Management Association as well. So we cover everything and everybody.
Got it.
So that's my responsibility to make sure that all of that keeps going monthly, initiating trainings. And again, when you're dealing with over 500 personalities a month, sometimes it's a lot more. So I have labor management meetings.
Absolutely.
Because QWL is a lot of things.
Okay. Awesome. And why have you chosen this type of work?
The work of QWL or union work?
Both.
Well, I actually have, I've been involved in the union since 1990. I come out of the city. I come out of the police department.
Awesome. And
I was an elected chapter chair from the police department's 911 system.
Okay.
So from that, that moved me to be a grievance rep in 1549. And then in my movement to this location, I was also a council rep in the professional division, and then I became a assistant director in research and negotiation, so I was a negotiator, and then now here I'm the director. So all of that in the service of our members, servicing and being a member. Once I could be a member, I'm still a member, I'm still a member of a union, so it's very important to me that the members' voices are heard.
Absolutely.
If it's one member, but it's just innate. It's in my gut.
Okay.
So I enjoy this.
Awesome. And what type, I guess, in conjunction with the work you do, and maybe even aside from work, what type of struggles or movements have you been involved in?
Well, I can only tell you about the struggle of being a female, a woman, not female, a woman who is black, and who struggled from being a 22-year-old mother of 4 and having to raise children, child care, taking care of a sick mother, and just putting everybody through school, including myself. So the struggle of being a woman and just that struggle alone was a struggle, and just trying to get through those trenches. So imagine being a 16-year-old mother by the age of 22, having 4 children, and then today having 5 college graduates and now grandchildren. So the struggle of people, the struggle of what women have to go through to attain, and to know that people know that you've attained or you've come to a location based on your work ethic, based on your commitment, your dedication to people, and your loyalty. I think those in your character, I feel that my name speaks for itself, and I think that's so important. So just the struggle of just being a woman, because in this business, it's not sometimes that easy for women, because the thought is that you move up one way only, and the thought is that you have to, again, women in general have to protect their integrity and their character and move forward, and that in itself has been my ongoing struggle.
Profound. And that connects with a lot of the stories and the women that we studied in class so far. So how they have to, how they push through a lot of challenging times in their life, and but just with dedication and with focus and with conviction, they were able to make to really achieve by leaps and bounds. So Professor's tying in. And you kind of just jumped through a lot of my other questions. You mentioned caring for your mom. How much of a role did your parents play in your life? Motivation. Any other women that you studied or personally that you feel like have contributed to your success and motivated you?
Well, I have to really give it all to my mom and God, but my mom and my mother was just extraordinary. We were immigrants that came from another country, and my mom brought us here with nothing. Back in the day when you had where in order for a woman to get an apartment, a man had to sign.
Right.
So, watching my mother go through that alone with 3 kids and struggle, and we know about not being able to house you or feed you. I know what that. My mother just keep moving, again, educating herself to take care of us. And it was a struggle for her. It was a real struggle. And then, and now I wish she was here so she could be part of now at a place where you could do something for her. But she was also the first woman that I saw who was involved in the union business. My mom came from a time where, we as unions right now, and our members are very blessed and lucky, I should say, that, if we want to go see a conference or go to a conference and learn something, your union takes up that financial responsibility. When my mother was a union person back in the 60s, for her to go to the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists Conference, she had to pay her own way. So that talks about the conviction and believing in something that's bigger than you, and that you're willing to pay. And we didn't have any money, but she was going to make sure that she went to that union conference, and she did it. So that union part came from my mom, from home. So that gut feeling and the responsibility that we have to people is so right in your stomach.
Right.
So.
Awesome. What as your role as director here, what would you consider your leadership style to be? We have different type of leadership. Some people with an iron fist. Women, there's stigmas that were historically attached that women may be weaker and a pushover. But we know those theories are easily dispelled by women like you. Even in our class, we study types of leadership. We talked about transformational leaders who I guess is closely to what you mentioned, had this type of autonomous, self-motivated, whether didn't have any external factors that push you to do what you do, but you just do it from a genuine place that you mentioned. So how would you consider, what is your leadership style?
Well, I'm quite sure if you ask my staff, which is not that many of them, but I'm of the leadership. I think that I have a very strong work ethic, and I believe that we have to be accountable and responsible. I'm not, but I expect that you would know that, based on who you are. And if you haven't, I'm going to raise the bar, and I'm going to train. I come out of the police department where I was a supervisor, and to give someone, we had to evaluate every year. To give someone a below standard, then that would say to me, did I do everything I was supposed to do to get them to that they met standard? So that meant that I would, if that means you were late, if that means calling you up, listen, get to work, doing whatever so that you could meet. I'm going to do. If I gave you a below, you deserved it, because I was going to do everything in my power to make sure you met expectations, whether that be training, if that's talking to you, if that's helping you, doing whatever is necessary. And I know one of my subordinates now, she tells me that you have very high expectations. You expect people to do what they're supposed to do, and I don't think that I'm not a screamer and a yeller. I'm not a, but I do. I want good work, quality work.
Absolutely.
I want quality work, and I want us to be proud of it. When you sign your name to something, you should be proud of what you signed your name to.
Absolutely.
So that's really, I'm very, I'm always talking, so it's always talking to people. So I'm a people person. I love people.
Yeah.
And like I said, but again, we can do all of that, but we can do the work too.
Absolutely. So you like to, from what I gather, you lead by example.
Very much.
One of the first things you mentioned, you said, your name speaks for itself, and your work speaks for itself. It's so funny. I was rushing to get here today, and I was talking to you about being reassigned at work and how I transitioned, and I'm going, there's some learning curves and some things I needed to do, but I felt so horrible leaving work the way I did, because that's the last thing I said. I said, well, this is my name and this is my credibility, and I believe how you start is how you end. So yeah. What? Yeah, I feel like I talked to you for a while. How do you feel about mentoring? Were you mentored? Were there some key players in what shaped your leadership style, your the way you conduct business? Were you did anyone take that time out and really mentor you and give you some some footsteps, to walk in?
How I'll answer that is that people saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Okay.
People gave me an opportunity because they saw something in me that I might not have saw. And I'm only going to put this that I kind of caught it late.
Okay.
Because maybe if I knew who I was a little earlier, then maybe, but there were so many people, like I told you, I was the chapter chair for where I come from the police department. And people taught me so much. My members taught me much. Here, when I have 500 people and they're all different, personalities, they teach me much. I believe in mentoring. I mean, can I name someone who took me under their wing? There were so many people that took me under their wing that again saw something in me that I didn't see. Just put me there and just knew that putting me there I would do what I had to do. And so there's so many people that gave me an opportunity, because I haven't gotten here at all by myself. It's been people that have just surrounded me. I've been very blessed with good people. And but I do believe that we should mentor, that we should train. I think one of the things I've with these committees, the ones that I do go to and that I have month to month, I do see people that I do sit down and I have talks with, because I think it's so important. It is.
Is it mostly women that you find yourself, not that disenfranchising women, but
no.
I mean men, but
I you know what, the one thing about my office here is that everybody comes in here.
Okay.
Because I think it's a place that people feel that they can talk.
Right.
So there's so many men that come in here too.
Okay.
I have it's really everybody just comes in, and it can go from soup to nuts. But people need to talk.
Right.
And sometimes people need to, and so the men are just as much as the women.
Absolutely.
But I think that has a lot to do with how I present and how my personality is. I don't exclude. I love to talk.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Absolutely. What sustains you to do the work that you do, the causes that you are part of, especially here at DC 37, whether it's physically, financially, emotionally? What would you say keeps the wheels going for you?
My family. My family is the most important thing to me in terms of, that keeps you grounded. And you know what? In addition to that, it has to also do with people will keep you grounded too. I went when I was a negotiator, late in the game, I was sent to a training, and but I had already started negotiating. So now I'm going to a negotiation class, but I had already negotiated. So I go and I'm like, this ain't for me, But then I said, you know what, go back next week. I went back next week, and I learned quite a bit. So that grounded me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That just reminds you. You always can learn. Even though you've heard it, you've said it, but it might be said a different way that makes you grasp it a different way. And so my family, my friends keep me, and I never want to lose sight of how I got here, why I'm here,
Absolutely.
and what my responsibility. So there's spiritual stuff there, church, like I said, my family, and then you just when people put you in a place, you're responsible and obligated to do the right thing by them.
Absolutely.
So that keeps me centered and balanced what we do.
Any political or ideological views that you would like to share?
Well, in the wake of Mandela's death yesterday, and I've read a couple of his books and a lot of books about him, I think that what I heard yesterday on TV, that we all have some Mandela in us, I try to aspire to, always do the right thing.
Yeah.
Always do the right thing, Sometimes, you might not know, but you know.
Right.
And if you, so I just think we just need to have more of a Mandela-ish type of ideology.
Yeah, it changed the world.
Spiritual type thing, and really caring about your fellow man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know with Mandela, he, saying how much he changed the course of history.
One man.
And how would you say, how do you think that you would change the course of history, even with your impact in this, in this organization, working in this capacity?
I really think that in the position that I hold, and the positions that I've held, and I think that I have changed, people's lives, people's thinking sometimes. I think that I've made a major impact on any place that I've been, because I go there with my whole self. It's not some parts left here. I give everything to it, everything. So I think that I've impacted many, and no matter where I go, and if I've had dealings with you, you don't forget. And I'm always being receptive, no matter where I go. If I go back to my old command now, I walk in there, they make me come in, I feel like a celebrity. If I see people that I've been their rep, I went to church Sunday, I saw 5 or 6 of my old members, and it's like I saw them yesterday.
Wow.
So I think that I've really, and I still have a lot to do,
right.
but I really give each person my all.
So you said so it's a saying that I kind of live by too. If you leave right, you can always come back.
And I can. And I tell you, one of the things in this job, you must have, and it's in any job though, you have to make sure the doors stay open, because
right.
you can't do this job if doors are closed.
Right.
You know, you have to really, so you have to form relationships. You have to develop things with people, and it's important because, like I said, there's a lot of times I haven't been in an agency for a long time, but I can pick up a phone.
Right.
And I think that's
relationships, right?
Yeah.
And I'm winding down. I've been jumping back and forth, but you did touch some of the points, which is great. We talked about some different types of different methods and the way people went forward with their movements. Non-violent, and also this situation where people had to take arms, and situations where women were in movements. People experienced being in prison. So were there any circumstances in any of your involvements, political views or activities that you had to run in with the criminal justice system?
I have not had a run-in with the criminal justice system, but I could tell you after 9/11, I wanted to fight.
Okay.
No, I wanted to put on some things because how dare you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was ready to fight because I thought that was war when you do something like that. So I'm a believer that sometimes you got to stand. Yeah. Not sometimes, you have to stand. Yeah. If you believe in something, you got to stand. I'm prepared to stand where I stand and fight for that stance.
Absolutely.
So wherever that stance leads me, I'm prepared to do that. Absolutely. So I'm not going to say that I'm a violent person, and I do believe in nonviolence first, but you got to stand sometimes. I'm not saying that you got to fight, but like I said, some things. I mean, I was ready to go put on some army fatigue.
Yeah.
After that day I was ready. Because come on.
Yeah.
So I believe that if no other alternative, certain things you just have to fight. But I believe in nonviolence. But I'm gonna stand.
Yeah. I think too. You mentioned 9/11, and something just went off in my head. Someone was talking. I can't think who. It'll probably come back to me about how you grieve in different stages. And I think post 9/11, we can look back, and you mentioned like anger. And I think that's definitely a step. Person was saying, first when something happens that impacts your world so much, first, you're almost in a state of disbelief. You're in shock, and a lot of us were in shock for a very long time, and then that shock turns into anger, and then you want to act on that anger, or you say, even God, why me, so you're angry at the man above even, but I can definitely relate to that. And I guess ties right into the next question. When not as severe at all as the things that occurred in 9/11, but when crises do arise on a job, things that you're trying to accomplish, what are some of your methods to pushing past and dealing with crisis when you encounter difficult situations?
I just think that you have to deal with them straightforward. I think that you have to, in this particular, people wouldn't think so, but because you deal with so many different people and different personalities, and you have so many issues with our members, with management, there's a lot of crises that we run into. Even within, you have to talk to different people, unions, management. So you run into a lot of things that you have to deal with. And you know what? Like I said, I come out of research and negotiation, so I know how to be very diplomatic when I have to be, but I also know how when the business got to get done, because you don't know how, because again, you can't get here without having to take, listen, you have to call it sometimes, and some days I have to call it. If it's a day that I have to say, this can't happen any longer with our members, or this can't. So there's a lot of things that I do have to, put the water out on, and but I'm like I said, I'm gonna come to you and I'm gonna put everything on the table.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest with you where we're gonna go, and if you'll know based on what the severity of it, how I feel about it. I'm not. The thing is, I don't believe in being disrespectful, because that to me is the ultimate thing. You just don't do to people. Just don't be disrespectful. You can be professional and get your point across.
Absolutely.
But there are times you might have to stand.
Right.
but not that many jobs. But crises, we're good. Like I said, I'm gonna bring whatever it is forward, and I'm gonna deal with it. And you have to.
Right.
You can't hide behind. You have to deal with it because small problems become big problems.
Absolutely.
So as much as you can, you want to try to. So you have to deal with it. I don't believe in hiding behind it.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned earlier when we were speaking that things that you accomplished and things that you set forth to do that you want to see happen. So, if you could forecast the next 2 years, 5 years, what's next for you?
I don't know, but well, as you could tell by my movement, after, I'm open to anything.
Okay.
I'm open to, I'm a person that likes change. I'm a person that likes to help and, make a difference. And I've also learned that the only way you make a difference, not the only way, let me rephrase that. One of the ways that you can help make a difference is be in the position to make a difference. And if you're not in the position, you can't make, you can make some movement, but you can't do what you might want to do. So, I'm still, I don't know what God has planned for me,
Absolutely.
but I know that, I like a challenge. I like risks. I like to go and see, your capabilities. I think that just makes you, because after a while, I think you want to learn. I'm about learning. I like to learn.
Absolutely.
So I think wherever they have me to go, I'm good. As long as it's not out the door. Other than that, I'm good.
No.
So I'm prepared for whatever comes next.
Right.
So this was a nice, another stepping stone.
Great. And I guess my last question is, or comment, question for you. I'm sure, like you said, you didn't realize your potential, and didn't realize the leadership potential that you had in you, I guess, yesteryear. So, if there was, a young person, particularly a young woman, who striving in school or wants to go to school or is working and feels like they're not quite sure what they want to do, and they may even know in themselves that there's something greater for them to do, something that they want to attach themselves to that's meaningful in their life, that would propel them to wherever they're supposed to be, where they feel like they're supposed to be. A few encouraging words to that individual, especially women. What they can do.
I actually had, about 2 weeks ago, I had a young lady who's on one of my committees who is very talented. And, I asked, what are some of your goals? What do you plan to do? And she had some goals, but she was not specific. So I said to her, well, why wouldn't you try this? And we had a long conversation, and more so out of fear of what, if she was capable or not capable. And so we spent 2 hours talking about, and I wouldn't let her, she said to me, you're the first person that wouldn't let me just go around the question. Yeah. And I said, because you're so talented, I see so much. And we talked about all the things that she's doing and, and how she can further her career and how she can move up in this organization. And, I just think it's I just feel that, it's just like the old way that, each one teach one.
Absolutely.
And I believe firmly that if I can help spring you in the right direction, if I can help you get to the next place, that's my responsibility to do. So I spent, like I said, 2 hours. And I think she's going to do whatever, our conversation was, and I was happy to hear that.
Awesome.
So that was good.
So if I was to put, to tie in what you said is to try to map some things out if you can, get as specific as possible with the goals and the aspirations that you have, and spend time investing in you. And that's kind of what I get from what you said, which is profound. Barbara, thank you so very much for your time. Okay. I had to snatch her, y'all. She's planning an event Monday.
Yeah,
but
I hope it was enough.
Oh no, it was more than enough. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you just taking the time out of your schedule and for really opening up and sharing with me. And this has been a wonderful conversation. And now I think I'm most grateful because now I know you.
Well, I appreciate that. I hope so. And I want to just thank Rosemarie for really considering me because, again, that's not, it's nice that someone thought of you. So, Rosemarie, thank you for thinking about me and asking me, and I appreciate it. Really.
Good job, Professor. You get an A.
But thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's been such a great, how do we say, interviewer.
Oh.
So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.